So it depends how you want to define it. But is it more about, some people think they focus so much more on, just the way and so on and so forth. And it's just not an accurate enough picture you're going to get from the way people behave. Because yes, there are sort of human tendencies. When we're confident, we tend to expand like this, and when we're shy, we get smaller. But anyone who's half decent at poker knows this. So if they see someone's really staring at them all the time instead of actually really thinking about the game, then you can easily just go, okay, well, they're looking for my body language, so I want them to fold. So
okay,
and so on, and then it's a combination of all of these other things. But by far, the majority, if you want to become a really good poker player, then you've got to do the theory work and analysis.
Okay, and your degree in physics and astrophysics probably makes you comfortable with math and statistics, so that probably came out. You're like, I got this.
Yes, I mean, analysis and so on was definitely much of my strong point when I was still in academia. But then actually, once I graduated, I went through a few years where, when I first started learning the game, I was just all about it and so on. But once I felt like I was proficient, I had some success and so on, I actually became quite lazy and complacent, for want of another word, and didn't do that level of analysis that I should have been. And the way the poker's gone is that there's so many sources of information of how to be better, like the internet and so on, that the average standard of play has just gone up and up and up. And if you don't keep up with that, then you get left behind. And so on.
It's fascinating to me because you said that in an interview that you took kind of like a year off and you weren't studying and doing all the pieces, and then you said the game left you behind. And it's strange to me to think that poker can evolve that quickly when it's the same game, it's the same cards, the same probability, and yet the learning curve is constantly being climbed and people are learning how to play better.
Yeah, there's the average bad player these days is better than probably some of the best players in 1998. So.
Okay, that's wild. And television's had a big part of that, right?
TV has, yeah, but I would say more than that, the internet. Okay. There's the explosion of online poker, so sites like PokerStars and so on. They have teaching material on there. You can watch replay hands, that kind of thing, analyze it. And then there's all these poker forums and discussions where people are discussing in depth, really breaking down hands into the nitty-gritty and so on. And so you don't have to put in that much effort to get the basics, the sort of basic strategy, which people took years to figure out 10, 15 years ago.
Okay. I was reading the autobiography of a guy named Tony Hsieh. He's the CEO of Zappos. He sold his company for $1 billion to Amazon, and he's in Vegas. And he was talking about poker. He got fascinated after he sold his first company to Microsoft. And I didn't realize it, but he said when you're playing poker, it's you're not playing against the house or the casino where you statistically lose. You're playing against the people at the table. And if you change tables and go to another table and they're just a lower standard of players, then your probability of winning goes up.
Absolutely.
And so I didn't realize that, and the casino just takes a small piece of it. So you really are playing the other people on the table, and their habits can go up and down depending if they're tired or if they're this or that. So the game is constantly changing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big mistake people make is pigeonholing someone from the get-go. And whenever you sit down at the table, you should obviously try to look around and make a note of all the faces and I guess calibrate. Well, first of all, you want to.
Here, one thing I did want to point out, if you guys have watched the World Series of Poker, have you seen what people typically wear when they're playing poker? They typically wear sunglasses. Yeah, a lot of them wear sunglasses, mainly because they don't want, they just don't want their faces to be seen. So check this out. This isn't his championship win.
Writing's not that easy, but
this is not his championship win, but I did want to show you a little bit of Chris Moneymaker.
Chris Moneymaker is our chip leader at this point.
Now, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to pause it at various points. I do want to point some things out to you.
Don't expect him to do anything huge, but he's looking at ace-queen, so he's going to make some sort of move. He bet $60,000 on the ace-queen. Action over to Phil Ivey now, and looking at a couple of nines.
Phil Ivey always loves pocket pairs.
He'll call it.
So I want to point something out what ESPN does, which is really nice. ESPN throws up these percentages for the people who are actually playing in the hand, you'd see Moneymaker's got an ace queen, but they're off suit, obviously. And Phil Ivey has a pair of nines. Now, they give Ivey a 55% chance of winning at this moment, simply because ESPN is playing as if, okay, we don't know what anyone else has, simply because we haven't seen it. We don't know what the flop is. We don't know what cards have been played, haven't been played. But currently, right now, just based on initial betting, Phil Ivey would win 55% of these hands. Moneymaker would win 45% of these hands. It's basically a coin flip at this point, but neither of them know it. Thing is, Phil Ivey is one of the greatest poker players of all time. Chris Moneymaker is an upstart who won an online poker tournament just to qualify.
Next in line is Jason Lester. Ivey with the lead with the 2 nines. Well, Lester with a couple of 10s.
Which changes the percentages. It will once they throw his name up there.
He's going to stick around, and he indeed does follow that.
It's less than a 50% chance, but he still has the lead.
Ivey and Lester in the hand. The flop comes 2 queens.
2 queens.
Monster flop for Chris Moneymaker, who makes 3 queens and becomes a prohibitive favorite.
Jason Lester.
But nobody knows it.
So with the action to Moneymaker, you have to figure he's going to push things right now. And he does with 70,000.
I thought he wanted to push it more.
Let him cover his face.
You make a bigger bet there and you push out the competition. We always like to say better to win a small pot than lose a large pot. He's almost inviting calls right there with the 70,000. A big favorite in the hand.
Well, Phil Ivey is indeed going to take that bait, and he'll call it.
Yeah, Phil Ivey will call, and I guess with 70,000 he'll call. He is well behind in the hand, doesn't know it. Jason Lester actually has a better hand than Phil Ivey right now. He decides he's going to stay out of harm's way. He doesn't want to get any trouble at this point. The next person knocked out doesn't make the final table. So, Jason Lester.
Here comes the turn, and it's a 9. And that
Now, hold on 1 second right there. It's a 9. Now, Chris Moneymaker, again, community cards. He's only allowed to use this community cards. He has 3 queens, three of a kind. But because of that extra 9, Phil Ivey uses that extra 9 and the 2 queens that fell. Phil Ivey has a full house. Now, yes, 83% chance other stuff could happen. Let's just see what happens from here.
gives Phil Ivey a full house.
Miracle on 4th Street for Phil Ivey, who now has the full house and the better hand.
But nobody knows it here except Phil
And
Ivey.
there's no reason for Moneymaker to assume that Ivey had the pocket nines. So he's going to bet 200,000. Understandably, he just can't think he has that type of hand to beat him. He's got to believe the 3 queens are best right now.
Just look at Phil Ivey's face. Have you seen? Is there any emotion on his face? He's the coolest guy at the table.
And Phil Ivey deciding what he's going to do. He's obviously going to play. And if and when he wins this sizable pot, Phil Ivey will put himself in terrific chip position for the final day.
That guy right there. This is Phil Ivey. The guy with the sunglasses is Chris Moneymaker. Yeah.
He is all in.
And quickly called.
The pot size is 1 million now.
Ah, you knew you lost it.
He never could have assumed the 2 nines in the hole.
Now, again, at this point, you can see Phil Ivey has an 83% chance of winning the hand. 83% is really, really good. But again, this is what you were talking about before. Part of it does come down to luck. It comes down to reading the player. Phil Ivey played this perfectly. He played this absolutely perfectly. He had no expression on his face. He was able to read what the other guy was doing. He stayed in the hand just to see what happened. He got a miracle on this card right here, which gave him the full house. He's just like, let's just do it, you know? So the other guy bet, and he's like, all right, fine, I'm all in. The guy calls, he's like, oh, crap, I'm going to lose. Phil Ivey's the man right now. But let's see what the last card is.
Phil Ivey. And now
Oh.
he is going to need.
At this point, now everybody knows what they have. Everyone at the table can see Phil Ivey's nines, can see Chris Moneymaker's ace and queen. Everyone can see it because since they called and went all in, there's no more betting that can take place. All that matters is the last card.
An ace, a queen, or a 6 on the river to win the hand, which would knock out Phil Ivey.
Moneymaker's looking for an ace on the river.
Another queen. Here we go. We think I'm gonna try.
An incredible knockout blow for probably the best player left in the tournament. Who's gone down.
Oh, amazing. Phil Ivey loses with a full house to a better full house of Chris Moneymaker.
Who has now knocked out heavyweights Johnny Chan, Umberto Brenes, and Phil Ivey. My goodness.
Just insane.
So sick.
No, because I'm just saying, Phil Ivey spent most of his adult life studying the mathematics, studying the psychology. This dude has put in the work, hours and hours and hours at the poker table, reading other people, developing his craft, and he just got taken out by a guy who qualified from an online tournament. That sucks. But that's what you're talking about. That's part of the luck. Poker is part luck. But if you play it for a long enough amount of time, over the course of time, if I got to tell you, if Phil Ivey faced Chris Moneymaker heads up one-on-one, Texas Hold'em over the course of like a weekend, Phil Ivey would crush him almost every time. Almost every time. He would. Yes, Chris Moneymaker might walk away with a couple of hands here and there based on luck, but Phil Ivey would crush him most of the time because he knows how to handle that kind of guy. But again, that's what happens with poker. So, I know that Google messed up a lot of today. That is okay. That is perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I did want to show you a couple of things in order to set up our next class period. So I'm going to set up a couple of things with the time that we have left. So I'm in need for a very brief amount of time, probably less than 10 minutes. I'm going to need those notebooks out and open. Let's get it going. I knew this was bound to happen at one point or another. Do you guys remember that one Friday where the internet went out in the school when you were trying to do like Google Meets? Yeah. You weren't in my class at the time, but it's pretty funny. Wow. Okay. Bring that over here. And bring that over here. Good. Let's call this poker hands. Today is the 14th. You guys hear about what Stafford is doing with schooling? Starting this Wednesday, Stafford schools, not Southern, not the high school, but Stafford schools is going fully virtual through the rest of this calendar year, starting this Wednesday. This calendar year. 2020. I don't know. Then my son goes to LBI schools. LBI schools are going virtual for the week. I'm sorry, they're going virtual for the next week and for the week after winter break. So they have a different thing going on here. Our Cali score, I talked about Cali scores a little bit. Our Cali score in our region went up to 3.3, but it rounds down. That's kind of where we're at right now. Anyway, how many different 5-card hands could there be in a game of poker? Question mark. There are 52 cards. We know that there are 52 cards. If the deck is randomized, shuffled, and you are dealt 5 cards, how many different 5-card hands could you be dealt? Any guesses? You know the 2 million number? Yeah. Nice. The answer is 2,250,000. 598,960 different 5-card hands. Now, how does one go about calculating such a thing? There is a famous poker player by the name of Doyle Brunson. Doyle Brunson, back in the 1970s, won back-to-back World Series of Poker. He is he is like the godfather of modern poker. He has, I think he's like either in the top 5 or tied for the most World Series bracelets of all time. The dude has won World Series bracelets in like so many different decades, including probably the last 10 years. The dude's in his 80s now, I think. He always plays poker in a cowboy hat. It's really funny. But this guy back in the 70s, when he was just getting started, or probably the 60s, he wrote out by hand all 2.5 million different 5-card poker hands you could get. He wrote them out in a notebook to better understand the analysis that he needed to do to be a better poker player. It's insane. Why would you do that? Well, clearly the guy's made a career for himself just playing poker. He literally wrote the book on playing poker back in the 80s. Doyle Brunson. Here, I'll show you what he looks like.
He's still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Doyle Brunson. There he is. 87 years old. The man, the myth, the legend. When you win an event at the World Series of Poker, you don't get a trophy. Yes, you get the prize money, but you don't get a trophy. You get what they call a World Series bracelet. It's like a metal bracelet or whatever. It's like indicating that you are a champion. And if you win an event at the World Series of Poker, you win one. World Series Poker bracelet. Thank you, Google. That's what they look like typically. Yeah, it's like a Super Bowl ring, but for poker. You know what I'm saying? You can see that, like this thing is look how many diamonds are in that thing. Goodness. But anyway, back to this. Now, in order to calculate something like that, you need to understand a couple of things. First of all, you need to understand this concept right here. Look what I just wrote down there. What does that look like to you? N with an exclamation point. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. You should not read that as N exclamation point. Also, you should not read that as N. Shouldn't do that. Thank you. I've been working on that for a while. This is actually known as N factorial. N factorial. And you actually have a function for this in your graphing calculators, but we're not doing that today. The way that it is calculated is using nothing but whole numbers. And basically, it's like, well, give me a single-digit number. That's like a little bigger. 7. If you had 7 factorial, you would do 7. Look where I'm pointing, by the way. Look where I'm pointing because I'm going to point to all these different terms. You do 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's how you would calculate 7 factorial. Something like that is needed in order to get the 2.5 million poker hands. You need that kind of thing. So, for example, I'll just write down 7 factorial is equal to 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. It's dealing with nothing but whole numbers. Now, I'm going to double check this, but I believe that was 5,040. Yep, 5,040. Now, of course, if the number were any larger than that, like, why would I type that thing out? There actually is a way to get factorial out of your calculator. I'll just show you real quick. There is a way to get that factorial function out of your calculator. If you type in 7 and then look at my calculator, if I hit math, go over to PRB, There it is right there, right above rand int, which we've used rand int before. But 7 factorial, that's what it calculates. 7 times 6 times 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Comes in handy. It will come in handy for what we got going on here. 5,040. Come on, you. There we go. Cool. Now, the way that this factorial function actually works, what it actually does is something like this. Think of the letters A, B, C. How many ways could you order the letters A, B, C? All right, give me an example. I already wrote down A, B, C. Order them a different way. Order them a different way. B, A, C. Keep going. See again? C, A, B. Keep going. Wait, you say C, B, C? C, B, A? C, B, A. Keep going. A, C, B. Keep going. A, B, C was my first one.
BCA.
B, C, A. Now that's it, actually. That actually is it. There are 6 ways. 6 ways to order the letters A, B, C. And the reason why that comes in handy with this factorial thing, how many letters did we start with? 3. 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1, which is equal to 6. That is what the factorial function actually does. It gives you the number of ways you could actually order this information. This relates directly to what we've been doing with poker. There's a finite number of cards that you can choose from, 52 cards, and they're being dealt out. Yes, you're getting random cards, but now we're talking about, okay, how many different, how many distinct, how many unique 5-card hands could you get? Well, that's where this factorial thing is going to come into play. 6 ways to order the letters A, B, C. There are 6 ways to order the letters A, B, C. So now I got to introduce to you one more thing. This is called the combination function. And what I'm going to show you here is going to lay into what we're going to be doing in the next couple of class periods, of course. It is the function NCR. And what NCR actually does is it gives you the number of combinations that you could get if you are choosing from n objects and you are only receiving r of them. How many cards are there in a deck of cards? 52. So you'd be choosing from 52 cards. And how many cards do you get in a typical hand of poker? 5. In a typical hand. Like obviously that's Texas Hold'em, that's something different. But in a typical hand, you get 5 cards. How many 5-card hands could you get? Now, again, I'm just going to show this to you real quick because I'm going to leave this actually blank for the time being. I'm going to reveal what this formula is in a little bit. But I want all your eyes to be on my calculator right now. Look at my calculator right now. In my calculator, look what I got right there. NCR. Watch this. 52 cards. You're choosing 5 of them. This calculation, which I have not shown you how this is done yet. I will show you how to do this on Wednesday. But this calculation, 52 cards, choosing 5 of them, will tell you how many different 5-card draws you could have. Chapow. That's where that number came from. That is exactly where that number came from. Now, how that calculation is actually done, I'm going to save that for next time. I was hoping to get into that today, but again, circumstances with Google being our, Lord and masters and ruling everything that we do. But I'm live, if only for a few minutes. Anyway, we'll be in touch more. Hopefully, Google Classroom will allow me to throw out announcements, but that bell's going to ring, and I'm going to end that class. Woo! Now.